Hey friends, Kylie here, your host of Dream On with Kylie O'Miller, back for another episode with another leader in the lacrosse world, fellow number 17 who hails from Richmond Lacrosse, and overall inspiration to both myself and so many others. Thank you as always for tuning in. These episodes are recorded from a live Zoom webinar that I hold through the KO17 Lacrosse app and are constructed into this Dream On podcast that you have found here. I hope you are gaining some insight from these episodes from some of the people that I have met through my lacrosse journey that have imposed so much of their wisdom on me. We've got another special guest this week, and I'm pumped to get right into it. Brooke Wilson is a University of Richmond women's lacrosse alumna with many years of accolades to pair with her many memories and locker room stories that she shares with us throughout this episode. Post-collegiately, as so many of us do, Brooke was unsure of her future, and fate pushed her towards building the sport of lacrosse amongst a program so enriched in teaching life's most important values. And this program is called Lacrosse the Nations, where Brooke now runs communication and development and has previously started the first ever girls program in Nicaragua during her time with the program. With high hopes of spreading her wings across many parts of the world, taking the skills and traits that she has acquired through her personal time on the lacrosse field as a player, Brooke is someone who seeks new discovery in her own adventures, as well as guiding those around her to do the same. Whether that's the high school girls that she coaches in Maryland, the Colombian national team that she has a coaching position with now, or the youth of Latin America that she works with LTN, Brooke is inspiring so many to lead with curiosity, courage, and persistence. Not gonna lie, I left this conversation so inspired to do more outside of the little bubble of the lacrosse world that I consider myself to be immersed in personally. Because there is just so much more I can be doing, and you can even ask Brooke. She's going to hold me to it. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did. Welcome everybody to another Dream On Live episode. We have a very special guest tonight. Brooke Wilson is here with us. My name is Kylie O'Miller. I'm the host. I am our runner of KO17 Lacrosse, and I am just really excited about tonight because we were actually just laughing before you all popped on to listen to this, but Brooke and I have never met in person. We literally just met over Zoom for the first time. We've been emailing a bunch, but I think that's what's really special about the lacrosse community. And just the opportunities that kind of present ourselves to make these connections as coaches, as players, as people who work within the space and work to grow the game. And then just overall in general, like what the last year or so has taught us about, just making connections and being able to make new friends and meet new people over Zoom. I think we're all zoomed out, but at the same time, it's still presenting some really awesome opportunities. So with all that said, I'd also like to give a warm welcome to Brooke here. For those of you listening, a little intro about Brooke. She played for University of Richmond, Richmond Women's Lacrosse Program, graduated in 2016. She was a midfielder, a fellow number 17. I loved that. She's got a bachelor's degree in healthcare studies. She was a midfielder at Richmond with 3 years of All-Atlantic 10 all-conference team nominations, Richmond Spider of the Year award. She is in her 4th year as the head women's lacrosse coach at Linganore. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Linganore.
In Maryland. Awesome. And she is in her first year as the assistant coach of the Colombian women's national team. Something that I'm really excited as well to talk about today. She's also the communications and development director of the youth development nonprofit organization, Lacrosse the Nations. So that's how we got connected, and I'm really pumped to dive into it. But Brooke, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us today.
Of course. Thank you. I'm really excited.
Awesome. So before we dive into all the good stuff we got to talk about, I always like to start off on like a loose note, just kind of get into like how you're feeling today, some of your hopes and dreams and goals. So 3 quick things. We call this off to a good start. First and foremost, something that you are thankful for today.
I love that. I have like a daily bullet journal, so I haven't written it for today. Something that I am grateful for, I would say today is probably my dog. She got me up and moving out in the snow when I was working a little too long. So, and I'm grateful for all the snuggles. So.
Oh, of course. The puppy snuggles are the best snuggles. I'm a new puppy mom, so
I know. I see. So cute.
you. I love it. Awesome. So something that you're proud to say that you've accomplished today.
Something I am proud I've accomplished today, I would say, was probably my workout today. I had a hit workout and I had a lot of bounce squats in it, so I was struggling for a bit.
The jump squats.
Yeah.
Yeah, those will get you. Those will get you. I love it. Good for you. That's really, it's tough to get moving in this weather, right? And it's tough to stay
Mm-hmm.
motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going a little off track here before our third question, but what would you say keeps you up and motivated to keep moving in this like work from home, winter weather type era that we're living in right now?
It's definitely tough. I think I kind of just feel like I get antsy after a while. It's a good motivation to be able to like step away from the computer and take a break. So I guess just kind of changing up the routine in the day has been helpful for me at least.
For sure. Awesome. All right. So think looking a little bit into the future, might be like tonight, tomorrow, but something that you're personally pumped to go out and chase. Again, it could be short term, long term, something that you're pumped to go chase.
I'm pumped to go chase. I have made a resolution for myself that I will be upping my meditation practice. I've definitely fallen out of routine with it. And I know I feel good when I do it. So I made a promise at least 3 times a week. I'll start that up. So I'm excited to get into that.
Good for you. That is another thing that is new in my journey as well. Meditation, yoga, that's on the list to talk about today, but that is really cool to hear. What, if you don't mind me asking, because you brought it up, but what brought you into the meditation space in the first place? Like what brought you to realizing that that was going to be helpful for you as an individual?
Yeah. I would have to say a couple of my peers had done it off and on, and I'd heard them kind of express how it was hard to get into, but once they did it, it was kind of like a stress relief for them. And so my grandma always used to tell me, like when I was younger, if I got upset about something, she's like, just take 10 deep breaths to yourself and you will feel better. So I kind of had that practice. And so I think I can only imagine elongating that for more than 10 breaths would be beneficial.
Oh, grandmas know best, right?
Always. Yeah.
10 deep breaths. I'm gonna have to remember that one. I always heard the count to 10, right? If you're like mad or something like that, count to 10. Take 3 seconds before you speak back. But yeah, I think that's a really important thing for especially young girls and young athletes to be able to put into practice these days. It's so much going on, so much stress, so much pressure. So the ability to be able to take those 10 seconds or those 10 deep breaths could be, life changing or day changing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get into like a little bit about your background. I gave a quick intro on like all your incredible accolades and all the things that you do within the lacrosse world, but your journey. You grew up in Frederick, Maryland, and I read that you played soccer and basketball in high school as well as lacrosse. When did you know that lacrosse was going to be your sport and it was going to take you to the next level? And what do you think that you learned also from playing those multiple sports throughout high school that helped you when you got to Richmond?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always loved playing a bunch of different sports. I went to a super small school, so it was very much a social activity as well. But lacrosse, I would say I started in 6th grade, and by the time like 8th grade rolled around, it was definitely a quick turnaround. But it was definitely more than the social aspect for me. Like it was something that I loved doing on my own or like out in my backyard. I found myself practicing outside of practice times, and that was more of like a novel thing for me in the sports world, like and how it related to sport. And it was just something that gave me a lot of passion and motivation. And once I got into high school, I think it was a place where I felt confident as a girl, and as kind of like an independently operating young adult-ish trying to be. So that was a space where I felt really confident, and I think that kind of sealed the deal for me as far as moving forward and honing the skills that I was learning on that field, and hopefully having it take me to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you said there because a lot of people will tap into like with that question, they'll tap into, yeah, I just love the sport, but I love that it brought you that confidence at such an important age, right? I mean, I think all ages are important growing up as a woman and as a girl. I think like when you're playing sports, that confidence comes from the teammates around you. It comes from your leadership skills that you bring about, your sportsmanship, the things that you learn from your coaches, and all these other sports that you bring onto the lacrosse field or any other places that you bring it. So I love that you kind of brought that up about your confidence. And what would you say are like other traits and other things about your skills that helped you find Richmond when you did realize that lacrosse was the thing that you wanted to take to the next level? How did you find Richmond in like your home for 4 years as a Division I player?
Yeah, the recruiting process is a stressful one. You like are never, you're not always sure if you make the right decision or if you're saying the right thing. And so there's a lot of chaos in like my memories of recruitment, at least the recruitment process. And I remember kind of when I did get to Richmond, like stepping onto the campus and interacting with the girls. And it just like this feeling of home, like you said, kind of just like washed over me. But I think it was, coming from a small school, I really wanted to prioritize like personal relationships, not just only on the field, but in school as well. So Richmond's a pretty small school. It's like a little under 4,000 people. So you get like a 25 person to one staff member ratio. So I thought that was really great. I actually had a teammate above me in club who committed to Richmond as the goalie, and that's kind of the first time I heard about it. So I never really thought I would go to school in Virginia. I didn't really think that it was like far enough away for me. And then she was like, "Oh, why don't you just come to a camp? Like, check it out. Like, we need an extra spot filled. Like, just come and enjoy yourself. There'll be other coaches there." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And I stepped on the campus and just absolutely fell in love with everything about it. Like the campus itself is beautiful, and the girls just really felt like family. Like it was novel to me to go to a place and as someone who was not already a part of the program or not necessarily a prospective recruit, feel so welcomed by the girls. And they were very willing to like pull me aside and give me tips, or would pull me aside and say, "Oh, that was a great shot." Like as a sophomore in high school, I was like, "Wow, it really left an impression for me." So I think all around, as far as school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and Richmond is a liberal arts, so I knew that I would get the ability to kind of try different things and see how I liked it. And I just felt like I had a support system there, and it was a good level of lacrosse that I wanted to be playing at. I definitely always knew I wanted to try the Division I level, and so things just kind of fell into place after a lot of not responded to emails and things dropping out of the sky that you don't necessarily expect to have, but it all kind of fell into place, and it was great. It was a great experience.
That's awesome. I think every guest that I've had on here, when you ask about the recruiting process, it's that exact quote you just said, like that feeling of home washed over you when you stepped on the campus. And like that happens in a different moment for everybody, right? It could be when you step on campus, it was that camp for you and with those girls. And, I think it's tough to hear that as someone who's currently in the recruiting process. Like, okay, where is that feeling, right? Like, where am I supposed to find it and how am I supposed to discover it? But, I think that patience and just looking around and finding a spot and keeping an open mind, right? Like you like you said, you never thought you were going to go so close to home for school, and you ended up having the time of your life. So talk about that time in your life too. Like, what were some of your favorite memories from being in that locker room, some of the special, team bonding things that you guys did? And, I always talk about like being out of college now, the things that you remember. Yes, you remember the wins, you remember the losses, you remember all that stuff, but it's the little stuff, right? It's the little like things that, that inside the locker room that no one else knows about, that are going to leave that impression on you, are going to leave those marks in your brain. So what were some of those things for you? What was it like inside that Spiders Lax locker room?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was a lot of goofing around, a lot of dancing, a lot of really bad singing, I will say that.
Love it.
But yeah, it was just a space where you could feel comfortable just like being a girl among girls, and having a shared passion for something. Like I think especially at the high school level, like sometimes you're afraid to get like almost a little bit too passionate about things, like it's not cool, or but in that environment you could tell everyone on that field, everyone in the team, everyone in the locker room like cared so deeply about the same thing. And then that trickled into like our care for one another, and the things that how we interacted outside of the locker room and in the classroom. So we had a lot of like different game prep stuff that we would do. We had like self-tattooing. So we would think of like a new kind of inspirational thing for yourself every game. And you would have someone, it could be someone different. It could be the same person every game would write that like in little Sharpie on there. That was always something cool that I really liked. Probably the locker room experiences that I remember the most. You always kind of think about, oh, you got that really awesome win or you got that really awesome goal and everyone was celebrating. But it was in the moments like in halftime or, 3/4 through a game or something like that, where we weren't doing as well as we could have. Mm-hmm. And you could just see like a fire under everyone's like butts being like holding people accountable too. So, not necessarily pushing blame in different directions, but, me looking you, Kylie, in the eye and telling you, I know what your best is, and I know that you can do better on the field, and this is X, Y, and Z as to how you're going to get there. God, if I could have someone like look me in the eye and tell me that now, like that would be awesome. You kind of lose that. You lose that in the adult world sometimes. And so, a bunch of little moments put together, but just like the directness and the support and, having someone hold you accountable for what they know that you can be, which is the best that you can be, is incredible. It's definitely something I will never forget.
You transitioned that perfectly for me. I mean, the way that you put that, having somebody hold you accountable, and that's what I miss the most about that team aspect, that team atmosphere. And I think that's what a lot of us have missed over this past year, 2022. 2020 also, I should say, not 2022, that's the future. But I think just being around that, even in situations like I remember too, even in situations you're walking from to class and one of your teammates decides like, oh, I'm too tired. Like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go to class. And like, just being next to someone being like, you should probably go, and just having that accountability. Like, I know you're a little bit better than this. I know you're tired. Get through it. You got it. Just having that next to you or surrounding you at all times, it just like ultimately pushes you. Like, you don't want to disappoint the people around you, and missing that a little bit in the adult world, like you said, trying to find it too. So like, I guess my question for you there is, now that you coach and now that you do all these things within the lacrosse world and also outside of the lacrosse world, like, what do you think are some of those traits that you took from those locker room experiences, from those, accountable teammate experiences as well into the real world, right? Like, what do you think kind of translated over in after you graduated from the lacrosse field into what you do now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I constantly find myself thinking back to my student athlete experience when I have these interactions now. But like one thing that I'm so grateful for that I think is unique to a team environment. I mean, it definitely can happen in other environments, but say, I missed a check and I gave up body position and my girl scored. Like my teammate's gonna come and look at me and tell me, you could have done that better. I'm upset with you right now because now we're down a goal, but then turn around and give me a pat on the back and say, you're going to go and win this draw. And so I think I've gained the ability to be able to separate emotion from positive criticism, which is a huge thing in the adult world to be able to do, and not get battened down by someone trying to help you and give you that criticism. Separate that from who you are as a person and what your value is, and then what the work is that you're doing or what the action is that you're doing, and being able to take that in a positive light, adjust what you're doing, and then come back and give that person a high five and go on, as good friends.
Absolutely. Separating emotion and criticism, probably the toughest thing that humans have to do, both in team experiences and in life, from coaches, from bosses, from parents, from friends, and just being able to do that. I think that it would definitely be something that an athlete takes, or something that differentiates someone who's been an athlete before. I've been to so many like different networking events and things like that, during college, when I wasn't necessarily sure what my job career path was going to be. And any company, any place would say like, we always look for athletes. And that was one of the main reasons why, you're able to take that criticism from someone higher up, or even someone who might be below you, might be inferior to you, to your position, and be able to separate okay, I'm kind of upset about that, and be able to be better from it. So I think that's really important that you said that. I think that a lot of young listeners are going to appreciate that one for sure. That's going to be one that's cut up. Like I said, you're going to say something inspirational.
Yeah.
You're going to put it out there. I hope so, I mean, come on, you already got all the tidbits here. So let's talk a little bit about, how we got connected. So Lacrosse the Nations, I know that I actually, when I was doing a little bit of background info on you, because as we mentioned, we just met on Zoom today. And I saw an article from two of your Richmond teammates who had gone down to Nicaragua, and you were there on your adventure there with Lacrosse the Nations. And they were just writing about their experiences. And it was incredible for me to read. And it was incredible for me to be able to see how you got your previous teammates involved in something that was so special to you after graduating. So I guess, can you give our listeners a little bit of background on what Lacrosse the Nations is and how you got involved with it post-collegiately?
Yeah, most definitely. I will say I never thought that I would be a person that is now like Lax's life. It's a lot of what I do now post collegiately, and I never thought that would be the case. But opportunities kind of fall into your lap when you conduct yourself well, and it's worked out really well. But so I guess got involved with Lacrosse the Nations. First, I'll say, is a nonprofit organization, and so we use the sport of lacrosse as a way to empower youth, instill a value of education, be able to increase access to education in under-resourced communities. We specifically work in Latin America, and so we run youth lacrosse programs in communities where sports aren't necessarily a big emphasis, or just being physically healthy isn't the biggest priority. And along with that, there's a lot of barriers to education. And so in the United States, you can take the concept of, the idea of sport and education, how we pair it together in a lot of ways. And that's not necessarily how other countries operate. And so we basically use the hook, the fun, awesome thing that is lacrosse, to then get kids into our mission. And so they will come to lacrosse practice. And in lacrosse practice with LTN specifically, we intentionally teach lessons that you learn on the lacrosse field. So lessons that we learned up growing up playing lacrosse, as far as, working together as a team, working through adversity, developing that mental fortitude, how to communicate effectively. Those are all lessons that we intentionally take, and we put them into lessons in a curriculum that we then pair with lacrosse practice on the ground. So, one curriculum topic might be the importance of goal setting in your life. And so you'll talk about that before practice begins. And then your drills throughout practice might all be about goal scoring that day. And then you'll come back at the end of practice and you'll talk about, what did you learn? How can you apply this outside of the field? So that's the basic structure of how Lacrosse Nations practices work. And then once kids are into the programs, they can then opt into our scholars program, which will give them either school supplies that they need for the entire year, or it might give them a university scholarship. So it's just a way to kind of pair productive extracurricular activity and a support system and mentorship through our coaches with the idea of valuing education that would then hopefully get you onto, a track that might be different than the cycle that a lot of our families and our kids are in, where, they don't finish school, they pick up kind of odd end jobs and just try and make ends meet, just trying to instill that value of education and personal development. And, there are always things that I can keep reaching for. And now hopefully having a support system with that through their lacrosse teams and their coaches to help them do that. So that's what Lacrosse Nations is.
So first of all, an absolutely incredible work, right? And a really amazing system in places that not only need lacrosse, right, but they need so much more. And I think that's what's so important about what you guys are bringing there. And it makes me so curious and like excited to hopefully get there one day and be able to see what it's all about. Because I know that I did just like a small bit of work with like a little bit of a social media campaign earlier this year, and just being able to see pictures of the kids that you work with and their sticks in their hand and how happy it makes them, right? Like we know how happy it makes us here, and how happy, it's the sport has made us growing up in our lives personally, but to see something that we're so passionate about also spread those smiles in other places across the world. Like I think that's ultimately what makes it all worth it. So thank you, first of all, for what you do and for bringing that to the lacrosse world. and to the world in general. And secondly, again, go right into like, how did you know that how did you get into it? How did you graduate Richmond, and this is where you ended up?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I had a healthcare studies major, which is kind of a combination of like health administration and some global health focuses. And I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do with that. I know I didn't want to work in a hospital or go into maybe like a healthcare career in that regard, as far as like being a practitioner, but I didn't really know where my skills could fall in a professional capacity. And I never traveled because I played at a high enough level where I wasn't really able to do a lot of summer trips or spring break trips or anything like that. So I kind of wanted that aspect in a post collegiate experience as well. And I had a teammate who was a freshman when I was a senior, and her older sister volunteered for a year in Nicaragua with Lacrosse Nation's partner nonprofit, MANA. And MANA is all health focused, so holistic health. They run a health clinic, they do public health classes in the school, and so I was like, wow, this is perfect. Like, I'll go down to Nicaragua, I'll get to feel out what aspects of health that are I have an affinity for, and go from there. I'll come home and like get this healthcare job. And what I didn't realize is when I got there, of course, I wanted to get involved with the Lacrosse Nations programs. And, fast forward 3 months, I'm doing like all Lacrosse Nations stuff, and loving every second of it and learning so much along the way. And just getting like my soul lit on fire by these kids, seeing them every day, just have these huge smiles. They don't have much, but they're like the happiest kids in the world. And it's just, it was an incredible experience, I would say, just to be there with them. And then having that attachment to the kids, knowing their stories, and then being able to see the impact that the program has, it wasn't really something I could step away from. And after a year, it was hard to leave being on the ground. But coming back, a position to open up on like sort of the US side of things in the communications and development end, helping secure new partnerships with teams, and getting to visit those programs and still kind of develop what it is that those kids are ingesting and hopefully learning from. So I've been with them really ever since Nicaragua. I came home, started working in January, and it's been, I guess this is my 4th year, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time does fly. That's for sure. And isn't it crazy how life works out like that? And how, I think it was, I forget who it was who said it, but it's the sport. It just ropes you back in when you think you're done with it.
Like, you can't get away from it. It's crazy. Yeah.
You see it and you're like, I gotta get involved. I gotta do it. So, I mean, just incredible though. Like, I think, it just makes me want to like hop on a plane and go see what you do. And I know that you
have to,
I know you haven't been able to go back in a while, but talk to us about that. Like, when is the hopeful next trip for you? And when you'll be able to go back down and see some of your kids?
Yeah, I'm like counting down the days. Another component that Lacrosse Nations has is we run service trips. So US players can travel with us to work in our programs, help coach in our programs, and then get that culture exchange piece, and really kind of get a holistic experience as far as like culture exchange and helping with the kids and having them, you learning from those kids. So it's a really, really, it's probably like my favorite program that we offer is when we get the US kids and our kids together. But so I will help lead some of those normally in the summers. And at this point, it seems as though we will be able to go this summer. We're planning some trips at this point, obviously with all COVID precautions considered, but we're planning our first trip at the end of June to Panama. So that'll be kind of like the first time back. So if all goes well, we should be able to get down there, and then hopefully I'll spend a good amount of the summer there, which would be really awesome.
That's amazing. And that is, I got my fingers crossed for you guys for the rest of the spring so that you can get back down there in June and beyond, just to continue. Again, like, I can't say, the word incredible just keeps coming back to my head. I can't say enough about it. And I really do hope that I'm able to get on the ground one day soon, because I think we're similar in the sense that I do have that kind of still urge to travel and see a little bit more of the world, outside of what I've seen so far. I know there's so much more, and there's so much more that needs to be seen, lacrosse or not, and if lacrosse is what brings us there, then that's amazing. And I think it's really cool to see what you guys have built, and the opportunities that you're presenting these kids is just, again, incredible. My favorite word. Okay, so Um, what else before we move on would you want, the lacrosse world or even just anybody listening to this episode to know about the work that you do with Lacrosse the Nations or, the kids and the families that you get to work with or, ways that myself, the people that I'm around, my peers, the lacrosse world, anybody who supports it, who can help and how?
Yeah, yeah. There's so many different ways. I mean, what I will say, and then I think, it's easy to tell from, having a conversation between the two of us, like what we get lit up about. Our programs can always use donated funds. Like that's always a big piece of how we operate. But the most powerful pieces are bringing two communities together, two communities that would never be together, like coming together and, not even speaking the same language, but just because of the love of something in common, you guys are able to learn so many lessons about life and about your own life that you may have never thought about in a light without having that experience. So I guess what I would say that I would maybe love for people to think about is that, there's so many organizations like this, lacrosse related and not, maybe shift the perspective of saying, we are serving people who don't have resources to understanding that an experience with an organization like this really enriches your soul and enriches you. And, I would never be the person I am today without making those connections that I did, and learning like very valuable life lessons from kids a quarter of my age who are happy with the simplest of things. And they really make you reflect on, what your values are and what you spend your time and your energy focusing on. So just knowing that, more often than not, it's usually you who are getting the best experience, for sure. And then to continue that, I guess, as far as, ways that people can help is, there's always room for like a bigger community. And so, getting down and being able to share like your lacrosse expertise and your passion for the sport, is able to then bridge all of these connections for these kids who have like, never even thought about meeting someone from the United States and never even thought about meeting a professional sports player in their life. Just being able to share those experiences and being on the ground, I know that's not possible for everyone, but, definitely like getting your hands dirty and having that personal experience is, I think, a huge way to help, and it leaves the biggest impression.
Well, that's incredible. Isn't it great how we can learn from people who are so much younger than us?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, I can tell that it's definitely had a really important, it played a really important role in who you are now. Just again, like I know that lacrosse is what connects it all technically, right? But it's just so much more than that. And that's what I personally love about the game. I personally love about the sport is like you hand somebody a stick who's never had one in their hands and ultimate smiles, right? Like immediate smiles right away. And it's just what goes about, like what goes around because of the sport. And it really is so magical. And I am just, again, just really grateful to have you on so that you can share a little bit more about what you guys do, because it really is so important, not only in the lacrosse world, but just in general for you, for those people, for everybody in the lacrosse community, and anybody who's ever, put a stick in their hands. So fingers crossed that we can make something cool happen like that in the future. I'd love to get my feet on the ground. You can hold me to that. I don't know if it'll be within the next 2 years or if it'll be the next 15 years, but you can hold me to that.
Oh, I will. I'll be bothering you. Don't worry.
I know. So other people, whoever's listening to this episode is going to be like, so when are you going? I'm gonna be like, all right. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. I love it. So what do you think that, talking a little bit, so this is just like a quarter of what you do with your time, right? And again, lacrosse just pulls you right back in. So I know that you coach a bunch of different programs as well, on top of what you do with Lacrosse the Nations. So talk about like your transition from playing into now you're back in Maryland, coaching for a high school program, and kind of just like that full circle feeling, and what it's like to be on the other side of the game and of the sideline, what it's like to be a coach now.
It was very hard at first. One of like my favorite lines was like, I can't shoot up and do it for you. So that was like maybe not a good like coaching approach on my point in my first couple of years, but It's hard to give it up at first, or like maybe necessarily, like sometimes you got to show someone and you can't really explain it the way that you want it to, and like you kind of start to question, like, do I really know what I'm talking about, because like they're not getting it. But no, it's been really, really awesome, just to, I think in similar ways to Lacrosse Nations, be able to work with a group of young people who want to develop personally, in a craft that they're really passionate about, and to have the honor of working with youth, that will soon be leaders of their communities, to, you're not only instilling values in them as far as, how to pick up a lacrosse stick and score a goal, but, it really is an honor to have such an impression in kids' lives, because what you learn in sport, as we've talked about, are values that will stick with you and become how you operate within the world around you as an adult, and moving on from there. So, there's never a day where, it gets hard, you get frustrated because the on-team strategy might not work one day, or maybe it's awesome one other day, but I never walk away without feeling like, I'm so honored to be in this position for these girls.
I think that's the mark of a true coach right there. Like a leader leading leaders, a leader making leaders. And I think that's so important, because that's exactly what you're doing. You might teach them absolutely nothing about lacrosse that day, but you could teach them so much more that's going to take them so much farther in their lives. So, I think it's just such an honorable position. It's such an honorable job. And that's exactly why, the reasons that you just said. So, I love that. I think, what do you think is, so you coach at Linganore High School, right? So you coach at the high school level, you coach youth with Lacrosse the Nations, and you also now coach a national team. Talk about that. Colombian national team, first year assistant coach. How did you get involved with that? And then what do you think is like the biggest difference from coaching at all the different levels, and your favorite part about that?
Yeah, I'll say I got involved just because of sort of being in the international lacrosse community. Our executive director, Javi, who you know pretty well at this point, he is from Colombia, and he is the men's. He played on the national team when he was in his playing years, and now is the coach. And so we had someone, Rachel Franz is now the head coach of the women's side of things, and they just need another hand in. And I just have, luckily I don't have perfect Spanish, but I've gotten some practice in, so I know the lacrosse Spanish specifically. So just having that experience, and I think having a foot in the door definitely helped. And unfortunately, like my first year, we obviously were supposed to compete in June in Towson, and that won't be happening because of COVID. So I haven't actually gotten down to work with the girls or see them in person, but we've done some Zoom chats here and there. I will say it's I have never had an experience competing or working with competitors at the national level. You have a lot of experience in this. Maybe you can speak to it, but as a player, you have a lot of control over your dedication, how much time you want to put in. As a coach at younger levels, you're helping lead that, encouraging that, you should be practicing outside of practice and not just when you're here. And that's something that kind of picks up in your college years, I would say. But so now taking like a high school coaching position and going to the national level, your control over when they practice and how frequently is like totally taken out of that equation. Like it is all up to these girls to do it on their own. And that same passion that we have for as players, and we know very well like they have. And so I would say like I've taken more of a kind of not hand holding or not micromanaging, but you take more on as a high school coach, coaching younger players. But then at the national level, you really rely on those girls and their passion to get better, and them deciding, okay, I don't want to work out today, but I'm going to do it anyways because tryouts are coming before I know it, and then the Worlds are coming. So delegating, giving them information and resources to be able to be successful, but not actually being the one to like enact it and have it follow through. It's been an adjustment to make, but a really cool position to be in, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think you made a great like reference to high school to college there. In the same way, like you coaching high school players, now coaching national players, that difference in just like internal drive, and just knowing your own long-term goals and what I'm going to do today is going to ultimately affect my long-term goals. Sometimes we don't realize that at 14, 15, 16 years old, you know, but through college and through playing at the Division I level, like yourself and myself, it's kind of something, you know, self-taught. It's also something just kind of going back to what we're talking about the locker room atmosphere, people holding you accountable. Like, you know, that the girls to the right and to the left of you are doing it, so you better do it too. And it's the same thing at the national level. You might not be in the same locker room per se. Like, I know that's the case for us. And I'm sure it is for them as well, you know, on the Colombian national team. Like you said, you haven't been able to get down there and meet them in person, but we did mention, you know, meeting on Zoom is pretty much meeting in person these days.
Yep.
But you know, I think it's just looking again, like maybe it's to the right and to the left on boxes on Zoom now, but you know that everybody out there is doing their job day in and day out, so that when you do get back together, it's going to be all worth it. And you're all going to have that common goal. So, you know, I think that's a really, really cool position for you to be in. And I am excited for the 2022 World Cup. Hopefully going to see you there. Well, no matter what, I'll be there, but I'll be there at Towson because it's going to be in the US, and that's going to be incredible for just lacrosse in general. And I think having another year, it might be another, like a nice blessing in disguise for everybody, just to be able to get to know each other even better on all teams, you know, and create that chemistry. And you know, I think it's going to be a really cool showing to eventually see all these different countries out on the field competing, and again sharing that shared passion for the game. It's what's so beautiful about it. So what would you say, I guess on the same topic, you know, what would you say would be the biggest differences between, you know, what you see between like a US national team or Canadian national team or Australia or England, and versus the Colombian national team and a lot of the other, you know, national teams that we have competing in our World Cup, you know, that I myself, like, I would love to learn so much more about. Like, what would you say, you know, myself and the rest of us in the lacrosse world can do to move this sport forward as a whole at the international level?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are great questions. From my experience, I mean, not saying that I have too much at this point, but you know, I think playing at a national level is just so impressive, no matter what it is, no matter what country you're representing. It's, you know, the ultimate honor. And it's just so impressive to see anyone at that level be able to accomplish and work for those things. But I think it's to me, when I talk to these girls and I kind of like see what they're working with, it's very impressive, because in those countries where lacrosse is more established, you know, you have more resources, you have kind of more of a community to be able to learn from. You know, there's a higher, you know, you have much more access to coaches who have played before you, you know, gear, you know, the latest gear, you know, clubs, youth programs, people have been playing it since the ground up. And that's not the case in some of these, you know, countries where lacrosse is really just starting to develop. So a lot of people are starting from later on, kind of in their young adult lives, moving forward, learning the sport, learning how to get good at it, and having to really seek out professionals within the lacrosse world, because it's not as readily available to them, if that makes sense. And, you know, like someone in our team who may not have the best English, like, is, you know, how available is the Kylie O'Miller video that they can look up on YouTube if they've still got to like work through the language barriers and this and that. So I mean, I'm so impressed, because it's like, you know, I know that I am very passionate about lacrosse and a lot of other things, but, you know, I always question if it wasn't as accessible to me, like, would that passion die out, or, you know, would I be dissuaded? And these girls are like, you know, they love the sport. It's so novel to them. They're actively seeking out ways to get better, because it's not really at their fingertips necessarily. And so I think it just brings kind of like a whole nother level of dedication. And lacrosse is a big part of their self-identity, you know, representing their country and having it be so unique. I think it's really impressive. It's the word, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, everything you just said already had my brain going about like how I can be more accessible to these women and to these young girls in all these different countries. I mean, like I don't even know what to say right now because now my brain's just going. Like, how can I make sure that all my videos are accessible in all different languages, and to all these different people and players. And I think what you said that stood out most to me about that was it, they just have this passion for it, right? They want, even if they don't have the access to the same resources, they just want to be better at it. They just want to have the sticks in their hands. And I think that's something that we all share, we all share, again, we all share that common passion for wanting to get better and just play and love the sport. And you can also hold me to that I will be doing everything in my power to make sure that I'm more accessible to these girls as well. Because I think that's going to be so important moving forward for the next generation, the next round, and hopefully so on and so forth into bringing lacrosse into the Olympics too. I think that's going to play a huge part in that. So thank you for shedding light on that. For someone like myself, you just added a couple more goals to my list, personally. So
I love that.
Okay. So outside of lacrosse, I know we keep trying to go outside of lacrosse, but again, I told you, it just keeps really in, but, outside of lacrosse, like we mentioned a little bit before in the beginning of the episode, about your meditation practices. You told me a little bit about how you love yoga, being outdoors, obviously traveling and exploring and, finding out new things about yourself. So, outside of lacrosse, who is Brooke?
um,
Yeah,
I know. I've asked myself that a lot. I think it is always something, it's always a question that you ask yourself, I think, throughout your whole life, but definitely as a young adult and kind of just trying to figure out, where your compass is going to lead you and, what direction your actions will take you in and what values you want to be, how you want your values to be demonstrated as a person. You try to tie it in professionally and non-professionally and, in your personal relations. So it's always something I'm questioning, working on, honing. But yeah, I think I realized I love moments of discovery. I love moments of self-discovery, and I love moments of self-discovery in other people. And so I find that taking on new activities or traveling to a new place or, doing something random with someone who may not be like the best of buddies, but we have a few things in common, like let's sit down and have an awesome weekend together and just have a great experience that gives us both fun and makes us learn a little bit more about ourselves and how we relate to things. I think that's important. It gives me kind of like enlivens me to have new experiences. So I love to travel. I love to kind of I found myself to be an empath as I've gotten older. Like I'm definitely a very empathetic person. And so I realized that I love spending time with new and different people. And so I'm trying to prioritize that in things that I do while also still like reserving time for myself to still have like moments where I am reading a new topic that I want to learn more about, or having a meditation practice, or taking time to do yoga or working out. I think being sure with yourself and stable with yourself is the only way that you're going to then be able to go out and do awesome and better things. So I don't know if that answers the question or if it's just my mind ramblings coming out of it.
That's exactly what I wanted from the question, was your mind to ramble. But no, it's so true. I think what you mentioned at the beginning, that, and you kind of just went through a little bit of it right there, then and there, like, is that self-reflection and just like who is Brooke? And when I sit there and I ask myself, like, who is Kylie? Sometimes it's like very overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. And I think the cool part about that, like you said, is taking the time to look inward, taking the time to like hang out with yourself, find out what that new discovery is that you want to like immerse yourself in, who that new person is that you want to go spend the weekend with. I think that's a really interesting part about it too, is that you can, like, it's ever changing, it's always changing. And who Brooke is, who Kylie is going to be ever changing as well. So just kind of like continuously taking that inward look is going to be so important moving forward. And I think it's something that a lot of young people listening can take a lot from too. Spend some time with yourself. It's important to write in a journal. I love that you said that too. You have a bullet journal, you said?
Yeah. I guess I've been doing it for about a year or so now. So trying to keep the consistency with it, but it's getting better and it's awesome. It's a good practice for sure.
Yeah.
At least for me.
I'm a huge journaler. I have like 3 of them, like 1 in the morning. I have like 2 at night. And I agree. I mean, I'm a big like routine person, so that helps. But at the same time, it's really good to just, check in with yourself. You never really look back at it and read what you wrote, right? But like, it's just good to get it all out of your head and onto a piece of paper. Because sometimes when we live in our own head, then everything just kind of implodes. So I'm getting it out there is really important. But I love what you said about, knowing yourself and knowing who you are so that you can then know yourself in other situations and with interactions with other people. So important. So, all right, last but not least, before we get into a little quick finishes segment, we like to end on a fun note. A little bit of inspiration. Obviously, you spread a lot of inspiration both in the lacrosse world and just with everything that you've spoken about. I'm gonna leave this conversation incredibly inspired myself. So 1, thank you for that. But number 2, what would you say, I guess, is like a piece of advice or something from a mentor or a coach or someone that you've just kind of crossed paths with in your life that has really just stuck with you, that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's come from a coach. I think this is a very coach thing to say, but for me, it was very simple, and this is one of the tattoos I ended up writing like before every game. But it was enjoy the process, and for me, I worked through kind of like self-criticism and knowing that I could be better, and if it didn't happen, why was that, and would kind of get bogged in that, and that would maybe lead to another mistake when I just kind of needed to get out of my head. And so this is something that's kind of carried with me for sure since after college as well. It's like there's going to be moments where like you do not want to work out, or there's going to be moments where like you've got to do really boring like CRM input for data in an Excel sheet for this job. But all of those little things that are not the best part of this stuff all lead up to why it is so great at the end. And so there's definitely like moments of losing games, or having to wake up at 6 a.m. for like really hard conditioning. And I just look back at college, and those are moments that they go really quickly. And time seems to be just like perpetually speeding up as I get older. And you look back and you're like, I would take a couple more of those 6 a.m. conditionings to have some of the greater moments of college 1,000 times over. So even when you're in the boring or not enjoyable parts of a process, like enjoy the whole thing, because it'll be over before you know it.
Beautifully said. I'm not going to comment on that at all, because I think that could be like a quote book in itself, like the cover of a journal right there. Just quote it on there. I love it. So enjoy the process is something that you took from a coach. Is there a piece of inspiration or a quote that you love now that you try to spread outside of enjoy the process, or it could be the same to the young girls that you coach or to someone who might look up to you as a role model?
Yeah, I think for me, the way that I kind of gauge a lot of things is, if you didn't do something fully, like, will you look back when it's done and will you regret it? So it's kind of cliche, but like, give it your all, like be out here and be intentional while you're out here. Don't, be present and give it everything. So again, a very coachy thing, but goes a long way.
It does. On the field, off the field, you're given 110%, you're not going to have any regrets. So my parents always told me before games too, like anytime I would come home and I'd think that I played bad in a lacrosse game, it was, well, did you try your hardest? No. Okay. That's probably why, and if you tried your hardest, you could have 110 mistakes, but at least you left it all out there. And it's the same thing when it goes for life. So, I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you're spreading that to your young girls too. I think they're going to be some incredible leaders in their communities for sure, with you as a coach and as a mentor. All right. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you in this little quick finishes part of this. So quick little, like random little questions just about food and travel and all the things. And then we'll wrap up the episode. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, favorite place that you've traveled to?
Oh gosh, that's hard.
Top three?
I've traveled to. I can do this, I think. I guess it would be, honestly, at this point, it may be Bocas del Toro, Panama. It's where one of our sites is for Lacrosse the Nations. It's an archipelago, so it's a series of little islands that all make up a big kind of county, if you will. But each of those islands has like a very unique culture to it. So, and I mean, they're like 15 minutes apart boat ride, but you get just like a microcosm of all of these different worlds and beautiful people and different experiences at like such a small little place. So and it's very beachy. It's like capital of the surfing Panama world. So it's not hard on the eyes either. So probably Bocas.
That's awesome. Do you surf?
I've been trying to get better at it. I'm like the person that will like go out and I'll try it and I'll be there for like a couple weeks out of the summer and then it all leaves me until next summer.
Not easy. It's definitely easy, but it's
no. Fun. But I heard that you're a surfer, right?
Not necessarily a surfer, but I've known how to surf since I was like 6, just based on my my extended family. All my cousins are like really incredible surfers, so we spent a lot of time out in Montauk growing up over the summers. So it was kind of just like a part of those trips. So I can get up on a wave, but put me in like 4 or 5 foot waves, I'll probably run away.
That's all right.
I definitely not consider myself a surfer, but it's fun for sure. Okay, so if you could play a different sport instead of lacrosse, what would you choose?
Oh man, if I could play a different sport besides lacrosse, volleyball always seems so cool to me. I never played volleyball. Wasn't really too big at my high school, but I'm just like so impressed with how like volleyball players are so like active and they dive and like I feel like they're super tough. They get like skid marks. I would love to be a volleyball player.
I think you could have some fun. I played in high school and it was my second favorite sport for sure. I love that. That's awesome. Okay, go to karaoke song.
Oh gosh.
You said you guys were big singers in the locker room at Richmond.
I know. Sadly, it's gotta be like middle school punk rock. Like I love Motion City Soundtrack. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but like back in like the etny phase. I don't even
incredible.
Yeah, really bad. But probably like a Motion City Soundtrack song.
Incredible. Gotta get really into those. Okay, tacos or pizza?
Oh, gotta go tacos.
Good one. Favorite dessert?
Ice cream.
What kind?
Oh, probably something with chocolate in it, but a vanilla ice cream itself.
Okay. All right. One band or artist you'd want to see in concert right now?
Oh man. I would love to see Lake Street Dive in concert.
Ooh, that would be a good one. I can't wait for concerts to be back.
I know, I miss them so much.
Okay, one thing on your bucket list.
Drive the Pan American Highway.
Ooh. What like why is that on your bucket list? What like draws you into it? Is it just the views or is it a specific drive or anything like that?
I think it's just like you get to hit a bunch of countries all at once. And to be honest, I considered moving to Panama with my dog, and she is a pit bull mix. So I just realized that no airline traveling to Panama will take her because her nose is so short. So it's a risk. So I also just love the idea of traveling with my dog, driving like all the way down like a caravan. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be so sick. Oh, I didn't know that about that rule.
I know.
It's so sad. That would have been such a cool thing, but maybe it'll open up a really cool opportunity for you guys to do that.
Yeah, I'll put it on myself. Yeah.
Love it. All right, last two. Next place that you want to travel to?
I think I would love to go to Montana. Something about it. It seems really awesome. I love like snow activities. I think Montana would be really sweet.
I've heard there are some incredible spots there. Very easy on the eyes. A lot of like really cool lakes and obviously mountains and things. Yeah. All right, last but not least, what's your spirit animal?
Oh man, my spirit animal. Should have thought about this beforehand. I don't know. What would my spirit animal be? I think it might be like a turtle.
Okay. I like it. Why do you say
Yeah.
turtle? Just because.
Easygoing, like, they see a lot of things, but they take their time with it. And I love being in the water, I guess. So
There you go. I love that. That's a really good, quick spirit animal you with there. That's incredible. First of all, I just want to say, as we wrap this up, thank you so much for all of the insight that you gave, not only myself, who I consider someone that needs to learn more about the lacrosse world that I live in every day and outside of it, and what I can do more myself to be better and to be able to do more outside of what I'm already doing. So thank you for that. And thank you for all that you do. I think it's so, so important. If I haven't said it enough, it's incredible. And I think I'm so excited to just move forward and be able to hopefully make some special things happen for Lacrosse the Nations and a lot of things that you are involved in. I would love to get myself involved in as well. And also thank you for all the little pieces of advice and wisdoms you threw in today. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I mean, like we clip up some of these little things and I was like, make sure you say something inspirational. And you were like, I'm gonna try. I hope I will. But I think the entire thing was just so inspirational. Like I'm gonna leave this so inspired just to be a better version of myself. And I think that's exactly what you were talking about, how you want to portray yourself in the world. So I would say you're definitely being successful at doing so. So again, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with KO17 Lacrosse and everyone who's listening to this episode.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for just opening up a space. I think it's important to be inquisitive and to open up a platform for people to be able to hear different voices. And, I love like your drive to just always be better. And, that message that you send to your girls and to everyone else in the lacrosse community. So it's been an honor. It's been really awesome. And hopefully, lots of more cool conversations to come.
Absolutely. Definitely much more. And we're going to have to go surfing sometime soon.
Yes, you can be my teacher.
No, I'll have to bring one of my cousins or something because I haven't done it in a while either. But again, thank you so much. And everyone listening, thank you for listening. Brooke and I will be doing some special things in the future soon. So you can keep up with that and check in with that soon. Thank you guys. And thank you, Brooke. Bye, everyone.